The purpose of this video is to give a simple introduction to the interface, accounting interface between XpertMart and the Xero or Xero.com accounting system. There's some written documentation on this, but I'll run through it real quick anyway. Under Configure, first of all, it's good to understand all that goes on and everything behind an XpertMart accounting, which is explained in another set of videos and documentation. So I'm just going to jump in here under Configure Accounting. We have a Xero configuration for Xero. There's basically information about the connection, and if you go on the Xero website, it explains to you how to get what's called a connection key and a secret key. This base URL API is also taken from their website. That should not change or not change very often, so you can use the default value there. But if it's needed to be changed, you can change that. We're using XpertMart is interfacing to Xero Accounting as a private application, which is a different way of connecting. It's not open to all the public, but just as a private application. So you're going to follow instructions to register XpertMart as a private application with your version of Xero. I'm not going to go over that in the video. It's documented, and if you need help in that, then we can get you the help in that. But as a result of following their procedures to register a private application, you will get a connection key and a secret key. What is referred to as a private key here is actually a self-signed certificate for your computer. And again, that is in their documentation how to generate that, although this type of certificate and private key is not unique to Xero. But you can get that there. And the only thing to say about this key is that when you first generate the file, may have some text up there that says this is the beginning of the private key, and some text at the bottom that says this is the end of the private key. You want to cut and paste that, or copy and paste this section of the file without the text at the beginning, without the text at the end. It's separated into lines. You don't add lines, delete lines, just as it is. You paste it in here, and once you've pasted it in here, you put OK. There's also something called the last export date, and our link will just be registering there. When was the last time that you did an export from XpertMart Accounting to the Xero system? So that's really all we have under configuration, and really the processes are also quite simple. So we have that configuration. There are configuration considerations within the accounting itself, but again, we're not going to get into those. Those have been covered within XpertMart, although there'll be specific configurations for Xero that we could document. So under processes, accounting processes, the last two processes have to do with getting to Xero. The first one is import Xero accounts. And as we can see over here on my accounts, if I go to General Ledger Accounts, I have imported here the sample account chart of accounts from their demo account. And so we can see all these in here. And this is just as it was imported from Xero without me adding anything to it. I had to configure to use 3 digits, and it imported fine. So that, if we run that process, accounting processes, import Xero accounts, it doesn't ask us anything. It just runs. It updates any new accounts that might be there into the accounts register. That's pretty simple. And also simple is when we put under accounting processes, export to Xero, and it gives us an export date. You suggest the last one we had. We'll use that today because it's the same date. And it exports vendor records. There's really 3 things that we're going to export. Vendor records, in other words, names and addresses of vendors who you have dealt with and bought by credit from them. It will export those to Xero. And again, if there's changes in address and so forth, then it will update those. It's going to export to Xero any receipts, receiving vouchers, some people call them, but receipts of merchandise from a vendor which you have paid for on the credit. It's going to export those to the Xero accounts payable system. And last of all, as we had mentioned in the accounting, the GL journal entries will be exported to the Xero entries. While we're at that, then let's talk about that. I've got my Xero account open here, And just as we go through, first of all, we have contacts, and we have to look at all contacts. And just out of these right here, I started off with what were the normal, well, the demo accounts from XpertMart, and I mean from demo accounts from contacts from Xero. And here I've imported some. Let's take a look at one of them. Maybe some of them don't have much information, but this was imported from XpertMart. Okay, so those import. The only thing to mention here is they have the contacts divided into all contacts, customer contacts, supplier contacts, employee contacts. Correctly here, they have made it it's a list of people, companies and people, so it's kind of like a general address book. The ones that we're going to import are actually suppliers. We're going to export, rather, and have imported into there are suppliers. But Xero does not let you say these are suppliers. Rather, they become suppliers the first time that you buy from them merchandise. Then they'll be moved into the suppliers column. And I may have one of them over here. I'm not sure. Yeah, I think maybe this Fashions Unlimited. Oh, Colossal Fashions. Some of these right here are ones that, because we have also Style Shoes, for example, because we have also applied or receipts that I've received merchandise from them, then at that moment is when Xero says, okay, they're a supplier and not, well, yeah, not, actually they could be a supplier and a customer. But that's when they get a more specific classification of all to suppliers. And again, ideally, if you want to add any information to any of the vendors, you would do that within XpertMart, because the flow of information in this case is from XpertMart to Xero. When we talk about the chart of accounts, it's on the contrary. If I want to make some change in the chart of account that'll affect XpertMart, I want to do it in Xero and then re-import the accounts in there. So that one of the things that gets imported is vendor records, the vendor's catalog. But again, they get imported as just general contacts until the first receipt is made, and then Xero recognizes them as a supplier. The second thing that gets imported then are the actual receipts, and they get imported into accounts payable. Now, in accounts payable, there's different classifications. There's awaiting approval and so forth. The ones, when we import them from XpertMart, and this is by design of Xero, not anything that we in XpertMart can do anything about it, they get imported not as directly accounts payable that are in process or whatever, but they get as drafts. And so you will have to go in, and I assume there's a way to checkbox here and say approve them or whatever. You could do the whole lot. But there is a step needed there. Again, no way that XpertMart could export them differently. So that's the way they have to be exported. And then you, again, can do a block acceptance of them in Xero, but there is a manual process there. By design of Xero, again, nothing to do with XpertMart. So all your accounts payable, if we look at this one, for example, right here, click on that, we'll see that it has a reference. This is the XpertMart, right up here, this reference number is XpertMart receipt number. And so that is nice there, and it's got the date and the due date. Again, this will be from XpertMart, and that, again, we can look at that in accounts payable or in receipts and explain how this due date, where it comes about. So it's the company and the currency, and again, where we configured which account this was going to go to and so forth. So this is a receipt, and again, it's not all the detail of the receipt. We handle the detail of what merchandise in XpertMart. Here we're just saying you owe these guys $16,409.46. So that is the second thing that is important. Now, if we go to Advisor, which is normally, I guess, your accountant, we will see that we have manual journals. And the XpertMart journal entries get imported as draft manual journal entries. Again, Xero is the program that does not let us apply those directly to the accounting. They want you to go in and approve these one by one. Nothing we can do in the export process that would make them automatically be accepted. That might be a consideration of doing one journal entry per day or per period or per month rather than one for each document, so you don't have to deal with so many entries here. But this is the serial number of the general ledger journal entry. And again, they're giving you this warning. They think, that we may not know what we're doing to apply accounts, but this is the general ledger journal serial number from XpertMart, the date from XpertMart, and the accounts that it was applied to and how that's applied out. So, and here's where it came from as far as its history. So that is what XpertMart does. It's really two processes to very simple. We've automated on our end as much as possible, as you can see, and the manual acceptance work is just kind of the way work is set up to be done within Xero. So I hope this has been helpful and gives you some explanation needed so that you can use the XpertMart to Xero accounting interface.